Hi, my name is Rob Archuleta. I work for Crossroads Turning Points. My job title is Chief Officer of Innovations, which is a new title for me. Part of my duties is overseeing and supervising the Detox or Crisis Intervention Center in Colorado Springs, El Paso County. So I've been asked to talk about emergency commitments and involuntary commitments. So let's talk about emergency commitments first, which everybody calls ECs. According to the guidelines that are given about emergency commitments, one thing we want to do is we want to stress that the client is incapacitated and that they are dangerous to themselves as well as others, and these statements have to be supported by facts. An emergency commitment is a big deal because we're taking somebody and saying that they need to be watched and monitored for at least up to a couple days, 5 days, unless they stop meeting criteria. So it's really important we use those things like as evidenced by. The best way to write an emergency commitment is to always give us evidence of why this person is going through this. So some of the stuff I've seen in the past is client thinks that he has something in his arm, is unable to make safe decisions. That's not enough for us. It would be better if it said client has something in his arm as evidenced by him digging it out of his arm with a knife, or client is a roofer and is a danger to himself or others because he's working intoxicated as evidenced by him climbing on a ladder intoxicated, something like that. We just need the evidence that shows that this client is a danger to themselves or a danger to others. Now the involuntary commitment is a little more serious. Crossroads Turning Points, we have a doctor that looks at those emergency commitments and puts those forward for us. And in order for our doctor to do that, the client first has to be on an emergency commitment. So it has to be something that is going on right now. So when we get requests that say, please, I see this client the minute that you see him, we can't I see a client, no matter what his history is, because every treatment episode is unique. And if the client doesn't meet the criteria for an emergency commitment first, then I can't do an involuntary commitment later. So the client has to meet emergency commitment. He has to qualify for that. And then that is the grounds for the first step in the involuntary commitment process. I can't start an involuntary commitment process or even think about it when a client hasn't been seen in a couple months. I know that these clients will probably meet criteria. That's why it's important that we have a heads up first saying, hey, this client's gonna come in, they're gonna be on an emergency commitment. We're thinking that the client is gonna meet criteria for an involuntary commitment. But just remember, they have to have the emergency commitment in place first before we could move into the involuntary commitment. Also remember, when you're signing the documentation, it has to be current documentation. It can't be something from a couple months ago. If you have any questions, reach out to us, crossroadstp.org. Thank you.